Hey, Ralph here. This is a quick video on how to create dynamic virtual presentations using OBS and Chroma Key. Really, the audience here is obviously trainers who do online training, as well as anyone who delivers online presentations with any regularity, whether your tool is WebEx or Adobe Connect or Skype for Business, whatever it may be. This is a way to really create high engagement types of presentations. This is an example right now what we're looking at of one of my classes. So you can see here that instead of sort of having the disjointed webcam here and desktop share here, or just running through a slide deck or something like that, I'm able to create a much more engaging environment through the use of this tool. And so what I really want to show you in this video is just kind of give you some of the basics on how this is set up and really how my environment is set up. So first I'll start out by kind of explaining to you how I do things, and then also I'll show you how to use the OBS tool in order to create similar presentations. So let me go ahead and get out of full screen here and go ahead and just pause that, and let me go ahead and first talk about how I set things up. And so let's go ahead and just give me a blank screen to work with here. So I use 3 monitors actually when I do my presentation. So I have my my center monitor, and then I have a monitor over here on the right, and then I also have a monitor over here on the left. So right here, this is me. So what I do in terms of how I present, so my webcam is going to be right here, and so I want to make sure that I try to maintain as much eye contact with the webcam as possible, but I also want to give the effect that when I'm working towards the screen, that I'm going to look at that particular screen. So what I have over here is, this is what I would call my work screen. Okay, so this is the actual screen where my slide deck is running, or I'm doing my demonstrations and those types of things. So I'm doing my work over here on the left. Over here on the right, this is what I would call my tool screen. And so over here, by tools, obviously this is where Adobe Connect would be running. That would be an example, an obvious example of one of the tools. That's the tool I use to teach my class. So we have Adobe Connect, also OBS will be the other tool here. But that's my tool screen. So I engage with that screen in the sense that that's where I'm going to see my users' chats and things like that. But generally speaking, when I'm working and I'm looking at something, I'm looking at the work screen, and then I use the effect in Adobe Connect in OBS to actually make sure that it looks like I'm looking towards that screen on the screen. So, and then the center screen here, this is where I do my presentation. So this is the screen that I'm actually presenting, and that may not make a whole lot of sense right now, but this is where I am exporting what we're going to call, or what we're going to use in the OBS tool, something called a scene. And so I'm going to preview my scene onto that screen, and then this is the actual screen that where I do my sharing. So this is the screen that is actually shared, whether you're sharing your screen in Adobe Connect, or you're sharing your desktop in Skype for Business or WebEx or whatever it may be. This is the actual screen that I'm sharing, that's going to include my image as well as the work screen, so on and so forth. And so that's how I have my environment set up. You really probably could get away with only 2 monitors. It would be a little bit more difficult. You would be previewing your OBS on the same screen as your tool. It would be a little bit more challenging. I would recommend 3 monitors here, but you probably could get it done with 2 if you really needed to. So let's take a look at OBS as a tool. So let me go ahead and bring it up. I actually have multiple copies running right now because I have to record this session, and I'm using OBS for that. And I also want to show you guys how to create a scene. So there's a lot here. You can use this to record videos like I'm doing right now. You can use this for live streaming, or in this particular case, we're just going to build a scene. We're going to preview it, and then that's the desktop that we're actually going to share. So I decided to start just from scratch here. So I have a demo scene that has nothing in it right now. In order to, once you download OBS and install OBS, this would be the little plus button here to create a new scene. And then from there, okay, so we have our new scene, and right now I don't have any sources in the scene. You'll see that my source is blank here. So first thing I want to do is do my backdrop. Right now I've got sort of this data center thing going on behind me right now, and so as the base layer, that's going to be my backdrop. And so I'll go ahead and click add here, and we'll start out by adding a image. Now I obviously have a lot of images already preloaded. I have a number of different scenes. If you were creating new, so I'll just call this demo img01, and then it's going to allow me to browse out to a file. Now there are a number of great sort of base background images. You can just search on Creative Commons images. I usually try to desaturate them a little bit so they're not as stark, but whether you want to go with a like a data center look and feel, or an office, or just a an abstract type image, there's a lot of different choices there. I'm going to go ahead and just jump out to my OBS image gallery here, different images that I've downloaded over time, and then take a look. Sure, we'll start here. Alright, so this becomes my image. Now you can do all kinds of transforms to these particular images. So I can right click here, I can say transform, and then I can say fit to screen, or I can say stretch to screen, or you can do very granular transformations as well. So you can do a lot of different things to make this fit. So that's my background image, right? And so from there, typically if I'm doing like setting up my presentation, then I would want some sort of border for my my screen. And so in this particular case, I'll just I'm going to add an image, and I have a number of different sort of borders that I have. I actually don't want that. That's not what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and get rid of that. So I'll just click on a little minus there to get rid of it, and I'll just go with image, and I'll add my Apple board here. Now obviously this is taking up the entire screen, and that's maybe not the effect that I want. And so I can come out here and resize it. Again, I can get pretty granular here in terms of the the transformations and that sort of thing. But I'm just going to kind of leave that as a base right now. From here, I'm going to project my desktop. Just for this particular case study, I'm actually going to project what I would normally have on as my work screen. So I'll go ahead and select add here. That would be a display capture. And then I already have that existing object, so that'll be my right desktop. Okay, and again, it's too large, right? So I'm going to scale this to the size that I want. Now, you can see here that it's not exactly covering the entire board, right? And so, all right, now I want to keep my desktop aspect correct. So I'm going to come back to my Apple board here, and I'll go ahead and select transform, and I'll say edit transform, and then you hear on my size, see, I can start shrinking it down. And so I'm just kind of making it a little bit smaller, just so my screen fits over it correctly. Again, the desktop is actually on top of that in terms of layering. So I'll go ahead and click close here. Next thing here is I'm going to add in me. Okay, so go ahead and click add. This time I want to capture my webcam. Now I recommend that you get a nice wide angle webcam. That's what I'm using right now for the main presentation here, using a nice Logitech. I do have a second webcam sort of ready to go just for demonstration purposes, and I'm actually pushing through the ManyCam software here. So I'm going to go ahead and video capture device, and then we're going to go ahead and select the ManyCam, and then you'll see that it's up here, and I want to kind of be down here, and this is where we can get into the Chroma Key piece. Okay, I can adjust the size a little bit, but what I want is I want you know, more of a chroma key type effect, right? And so obviously we're not getting that just yet. So what I do down here is I come here to Manicam, and I'm going to go ahead and select the filters option. And then on the filters option, I'm going to go ahead and add a filter. I'm going to add a chroma key filter. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select a custom color. And then it says pick a screen color, and I'm just going to pick the green. I'm just sampling the green off of my my little Manicam screen there to get it as close as possible. And then here we start adjusting similarity. Start working on that. That may be a little darker than I want. Let's go back and try that again. Try and get a little bit lighter area. Yeah, let's try that. All right. Now again, this is actually, you know, not awesome. I mean, the webcam's okay, but it's not as nice as the Logitech webcam. But we do have our, you're starting to get a feel for the chroma key, and I don't want to like sit here and just tweak it. It really doesn't take that long to really get it dialed in. But what you're basically going to do here is you're going to work on the, you know, the similarity factor, and then also the smoothness factor. And then you go ahead and once you get where you want. Now again, with my normal camera, I've got a lot more of my body showing up, right? So it looks a lot better with like the Podium type effect. But I'm gonna go ahead and just add in my my Podium image here, which might look a little silly because we're not seeing much of me. But I'll go ahead and, so I'm just resizing this, just dragging it, putting it where I want it. Right. Again, I should find another Podium with smaller microphones. So I can come down here. Maybe I'll go all the way down here. Come back here to my capture. Bring that right behind the Podium. All right, and you're getting the idea of what we're building here as a scene. Okay, so it's pretty. That's pretty rough, you know. Again, I would definitely be tweaking it out a little more, but I'm just trying to give you some of the basics on, you know, how to set up the presentation environment, how to set up the chroma key, and then once I have that, you know, I'm pretty much, you know, ready to go. So the next step here is to actually preview your screen. So remember, I can't necessarily, if I'm using a tool like Adobe Connect, or if I'm using WebEx, or I'm using let's say Skype for Business, then that basically gives you the ability to share your desktop, right? So the last thing here is to project this preview to your desktop. So what I would do here is I just go full screen projector, okay, and then I select the display that I want to full screen it to. Now in this case, whoops, not that one. That was a little Hall of Mirrors. Let's pick the right display here. So we'll say display 2. All right. So now I have my dynamic environment that I can start giving my presentation with. So I could load my slide deck, or, you know, in this case, I guess I could pull my browser over here. So you get the idea here. And then so once you're previewing, that's what you actually want to, you know, share. Okay, when you say share your desktop, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually, yeah, let's do it. So we'll come out here, and I'll go ahead and close my preview. Okay, so that's the basics right there. You know, you need to create a scene. You need to get your background image, what I would say your border image. You need to go ahead and get your desktop going. And once you have all that, you know, then you share that, you know, in what they call full screen preview, and then that's the desktop environment that you share. And I find it to be, you know, very effective and much more engaging than some of the other options that you might have. And and it's nice because you can quickly transition over, like when I go on breaks and things like that. You know, it's nice to be able to just drop a mountain sky, or drop an image of the beach or something like that, and then I can continue to do my work on my work screen and that sort of thing. So there are a number of different things you can do. I mean, there's sort of fun things that you can do. Put yourself in the enterprise or whatever it may be. So if I sort of change scenes here, so some of the students, sometimes they enjoy a little bit of that, and it's really, I mean, you have a lot of choices here. You can have multiple classroom type environments, which is something that I like to go with, so that we change things up from one day to the next day. So I find that to be a pretty effective way to do things. But really, I mean, to be completely honest, there are just a number of options from a creativity standpoint, really only limited by your willingness to do a little bit of research and experiment. So think about it. It's not that hard to use, and it does make for very rich and dynamic presentations. So hope that helps. If you have any questions, absolutely ask me in the comments or get in touch with me. And if you like the video, go ahead and click like. And if you want to see more videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.